There was a war so brutal, so catastrophic, that entire towns vanished from the map. A war fought in the name of God, but ended up destroying almost everything sacred. It lasted 30 years, killed over 8 million people, and gave birth to the very idea of modern nations. Yet today, almost no one talks about it. This is the forgotten story of the 30 Years' War, the war that changed the world forever. The storm begins. In the early 1600s, Europe was a continent divided not by borders, but by faith. The Protestant Reformation had shattered the unity of Christianity. On one side stood the Catholic Church, led by the Pope and the powerful Habsburg dynasty. On the other stood the Protestants, who rejected papal authority and demanded freedom of worship. For decades, this religious divide simmered, but in 1618, in the city of Prague, it finally exploded. The spark came when 2 Catholic officials were literally thrown out of a castle window by Protestant nobles. This act of defiance, known as the Defenestration of Prague, ignited a fire that would consume Europe. The Holy Roman Emperor saw rebellion. The Protestant princes saw revolution. And the common people, they saw the beginning of hell. The War of Faith. At first, it was a local conflict between Protestants and Catholics within the Holy Roman Empire. But soon, every power in Europe chose a side. The Catholic League, backed by Spain and Austria. The Protestant Union, supported by Denmark, Sweden, and France. Yes, even Catholic France fought against the Catholic Emperor, not for religion, but for power. Because by now, this wasn't just a holy war, it was a fight for dominance. From the frozen plains of Denmark to the fields of Bohemia, armies clashed in endless cycles of invasion and retaliation. Cities burned, villages disappeared, and soldiers, often unpaid mercenaries, pillaged everything in their path. Ordinary people became victims of a war they didn't start and couldn't escape. Disease, famine, and massacres spread faster than armies could march. In some regions, 1 out of every 3 people died. The 30 Years' War had become the apocalypse of Europe, a continent in ruins. War wasn't just fought with swords or muskets. It was fought through starvation. Armies lived off the land, and living off the land meant stealing everything from peasants. Horses, grain, tools, even doors and roofs were stripped to fuel the next campaign. By 1630, vast stretches of Germany had become wastelands. Travelers wrote of seeing corpses lining the roads, and entire towns turned to ash. Children were orphaned, women assaulted, and priests executed in their churches. It wasn't just a war of weapons. It was a war of ideologies, of vengeance, of human cruelty pushed to its limits.
The rise of the warrior kings. But in the midst of chaos, powerful figures emerged, shaping not only the war, but history itself. In 1630, the Protestant cause found its hero, Gustavus Adolphus, the King of Sweden. A military genius and devout Lutheran, he introduced modern tactics that revolutionized warfare. Mobile artillery, coordinated infantry lines, discipline over chaos. Under his command, the Swedish army swept across the continent, defeating the imperial forces in battle after battle. But his victories came at a cost, and at Lutzen, Gustavus Adolphus fell in battle, his body pierced by enemy fire. His death was a turning point. The Protestant cause lost its greatest champion, and Europe plunged deeper into bloodshed. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, another figure pulled the strings: Cardinal Richelieu of France. Though Catholic, Richelieu supported the Protestants because his true enemy was not religion, it was the Habsburg Empire. This was now a war of politics, not piety. The road to peace. By the 1640s, after 3 decades of death, even kings and emperors were exhausted. Entire generations had grown up knowing nothing but war. In 1648, European powers finally gathered in the cities of Münster and Osnabrück to negotiate what became known as the Peace of Westphalia, one of the most important treaties in history. This peace did more than end the war, it reshaped the world. For the first time, it established the principle of state sovereignty, the idea that each nation had the right to govern itself without outside interference. It also declared that religion should no longer be a reason for war, a revolutionary idea for its time. In short, the 30 Years' War destroyed medieval Europe and gave birth to the modern international order. How it changed the world forever. The aftermath of the war left Europe forever transformed. 1. Politics replaced religion as the primary driver of conflict. From now on, kings fought for borders, not for beliefs. 2. The idea of nation-states began to form. Germany, France, Sweden, and others consolidated their power. 3. Diplomacy was born. The Peace of Westphalia introduced the concept of negotiation among equals, the foundation of the United Nations centuries later. And finally, the horrors of the 30 Years' War made Europe realize something profound: that endless war would only lead to mutual destruction. The war didn't just redraw maps, it rewired humanity's understanding of politics, power, and peace. The forgotten legacy. Today, we remember the World Wars, Napoleon, the Crusades, but the 30 Years' War, the war that shaped them all, remains forgotten. Maybe because it didn't have a clear villain or hero. Maybe because it was too chaotic, too complex, too painful to retell. But its shadow still lingers. Every time nations gather to sign a peace treaty, every time diplomacy triumphs over religion or ideology, every time a border is respected in international law, that's the spirit of Westphalia, born from the ashes of a war no one talks about. The 30 Years' War began as a fight for faith, but ended by teaching humanity that peace could only come through understanding and sovereignty. It was the war that destroyed the old world to create the new one. And that's why, even though no one talks about it, it truly changed the world forever.